All right, guys, this is going to be 1.5C Part 2. We're going to be focusing on positive consumption externalities. Positive consumption externalities. So because we're talking about consumption, we're looking at the demand curve. Because we're talking about positive consumption externalities, we're looking at how individuals who benefit from consumption through the utility they derive from consumption is going to be less than what society benefits as a consequence of that consumption. I didn't plug it in. It's going to, as society benefits as a consequence of that consumption. So if you think about the consumption of education, we produce education, we provide education, but I wonder, how many of you actually actively consume it? How many of you guys actually think about the concepts that we explore in the many of your classes? Do you guys actually take the time to think about what you're learning in class? Or are you just trying to memorize what you're being taught and regurgitate it on tests so as to get a good quantitative score? I wonder. So, if you actually consume the education that you're provided in the public school system, or maybe in a job that you have outside of school, for instance, then there's going to be much more benefit to society than to just you, the individual. So how do we show that in the model? Well, here we see the demand line, which is equal to marginal private benefit, but the marginal social benefit of education is much greater. And here's why. Yes, you might personally benefit from your education. You might develop a technical level of technical expertise that enables you to earn a high standard of living in the future. And good for you. But as a consequence of your high standard of living, your level of consumption is going to be much greater than it would be otherwise. Therefore, you're going to be participating in more markets and more industries than you would otherwise. And as a consequence, producers in those other industries and other markets that you're a consumer of are going to be directly benefiting from your business. Well, because of the income you earned from your knowledge and your expertise, you can provide opportunities for other people by being a consumer in their markets. But also, too, people who are higher educated, who have a higher degree of education, also tend to be more charitable. They tend to be less violent. So therefore, they would put less burden on the criminal justice system and the legal system. And therefore, maybe, just maybe, the government will cut our taxes again. Woohoo! But I digress. So here in the context of the model, you can see the positive consumption externality. So with the positive consumption externality, we can see that the socially optimal level of education is less than what is being produced in the market, as we can see in the difference between Q-opt and QM. All right? So in that sense, where is the deadweight loss? Where's the loss to social benefit? It's right there, in that triangle. All right? Well, how can we correct for this? How can we minimize the loss of social benefit? We can subsidize education. We can provide public education. Your teacher, I don't know, might even offer you international travel trips abroad for college credit, and that will immerse yourself in different cultures so you can see the world through different perspectives. Oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty awesome idea. So teachers can offer these things. The government, thank you, Kate, walking right through my video as if I'm not even doing anything. Jeez. So they can do these things. Well, what happens here? Well, as a consequence, government spending, we could say we could increase the supply of education by increasing the supply here, and that would give us a new equilibrium, diminishing our triangle. Or we can give kids more access to vocational education, more technical education. We don't offer a lot of that anymore, like learning how to weld, learning how to do things like this in high school. It's not very common like it was when I was in high school. So by increasing, or we could increase advertising, or we could provide tax revenue to public education to increase people's ability to acquire it, or willingness to acquire it. So by doing so, let's just do advertising. By doing so, we can diminish the loss of social benefit by increasing the access that people have to education. And so that's one way in which we can correct for a positive consumption externality. All right, we'll go into a little bit more detail in class, but hopefully this will get you the basics. All right. See you guys next time.